Well, let's take a look at this. Well, there you are, from the White Hart. All of a dither again this morning because we tried hard to mend the problems of the last couple of days, and that is with picture. And I hope that the picture is a better picture this morning for you. And we are working on getting it even better still. Mirador Television, coming from the White Hart in the center of Lewis, this first hour. 8:30 to 9:30, we look at the news and we headlines. Beyond the headlines, we look at some frippery. We look at a whole host of things. And what we are doing at the moment is trying to see whether we could get young Andrew, who is normally pretty good, but at this time scale probably doesn't suit him. But nonetheless, we really want to try and bring him in because he's such good value for money. So forgive us if we just ruminate for a moment and we try hard to get hold of him. There we go. Well, you have to forgive me. You just have to look at me and good morning. And hope that well, there we are. That took a little time, didn't it? I'm sorry about that. But one way or another, we got out of bed the wrong side this morning. We went late, and the wonderful Shannon and the wonderful Jane, both of them here this morning. And when you walk into the White Hart at 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning, you are greeted by two of the most beautiful ladies with the most wonderful smiles and with the most civilized way of looking at life at that hour of the morning. And they actually build a fire. They make you feel welcome and feel comfortable. And it's a great start to the day. And here we are with them and in the White Hart, a slightly different angle today, different position to see whether we can cure temporarily, at any rate, the poor picture that we've been presenting you with. And hopefully we can amend it so that it's going to be okay after next week. If it's not this morning, our apologies, but do stay with us and do come back to us because this is a brand new approach to television. You can drop in and have your say. The door is open. Thanks to Cliff and Sally Aries, who own the White Hart, we're able to broadcast from the front bar, would you believe? Those rafters behind me are ancient rafters. They are originals. There's nothing fake about this hotel. And it's steeped in history, not least of which is it's where Tom Paine developed his ideas for the rights of man and how the American colonies should break away from England, from the king, and become an independent country. And according to the historian Bill Bryson, it was Tom Paine that named the United States when they first broke away. So there you are. It all happened here, and you can see it. And we hope that we've got a we have got still an unstable connection, and I'm sorry about that. Hopefully, it won't be too bad for you, and a little better than it was yesterday. But anyway, here we go, and we are ready to take a look at the newspapers this morning, and the MPs are all a dither. Oh, they really are. They're all over the place, and the latest now is they're all upset because one of the 350, 650 MPs has been taking a little look at naughty videos while he's been sitting in the House. And at long last, somebody has realized that the smile on his face is not because of the stupidity of some of the debates and some of the things that the MPs are getting up to, but because he's looking at naughty stuff on his phone. So the Metro is the first paper to launch out of this. Metro, the London paper, is a porn MP exposed. Is a number of the papers lead with claims that a senior Tory MP was repeatedly seen by female colleagues watching porn on his phone while working in the Commons. The Metro says the incidents were recounted at a meeting of Tories at which more than a dozen women complained of sexism and harassment by male MPs. I'm sorry, but there is so much going on in the world for this sort of thing which is absolutely widespread. You could get it anywhere on the web, and you don't have to pay a penny. And here is some MP now doing it in the House of Commons. So that is a little bit, but the MPs it's sexist and so on and so forth. For God's sake, there's many women that, in fact, more that watch porn on the internet as there are men. So I don't see how the charge of sexist sticks. Charge of not paying proper attention to what he's supposed to be doing. And I must say that there have been some instances of lorry drivers looking at this sort of stuff while driving at 50 or 60 miles an hour along a motorway. That obviously is criminal. Whether it is proper that an MP should watch porn on his phone in the House of Commons is debatable. But sexist and all the rest of it is nonsense. Surely we could find a better charge than that. Mirror. Tories porn shame in the Commons. Oh, dear, 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 dear. Everybody gets on their high horse, don't they? When these sort of things come up. It's wonderful to be so proper and righteous and sort of say, hey, this is pretty naughty. That was the Mirror, yes. The Daily Express, a Tory MP caught watching porn in the Commons. So there's a theme there from several papers. Now, then we get into the Times, which gets into the nitty-gritty, because Mrs. Truss has said she fears that the Ukraine war could carry on for years. The Foreign Secretary has made a speech, and she described Russian President Vladimir Putin as a rogue operator and warned he could launch further invasions of countries such as Moldova and Georgia. Well, I've been to Georgia. I haven't been to Moldova. I almost made it a couple of times. But the fact of the matter is elsewhere, people, respected columnists are now saying what I said yesterday and the day before: ignore this man at your peril. If he says, I am going to target countries that aid Ukraine, I'm going to target them with nuclear missiles, he means what he says. And perhaps not immediately. Now, Stuart Dolby yesterday argued that everything is automated. He fires at us, we fire at him. Is that there is no shall we do it or shan't we? Is it happens. And those damn computers are in charge. But I'm not a warmonger. On the contrary, I've seen enough to last me a lifetime, having spent the best part of the Troubles in Northern Ireland. But the fact of the matter is that those people who are worried that Vladimir Putin is a single-minded individual who is determined that this war against Ukraine is going to end in some sort of victory for him, that American intelligence believes that he is not going to give in because he thinks that in a war of attrition, that the West will blink first, that we are also fat and sassy, that we will persuade our governments to give in because we're shortage of heating, shortage of foodstuffs, shortage of toilet paper. And there's another little snippet somewhere this morning that warns that toilet paper is destroying the environment. There is a quote somewhere, and I'll see if I can find it, as to how many trees we have to cut down to satisfy our desire for bum wipe. And the so the dear old toilet paper, which signifies shortages, is likely to be increased. And now, before we go any further, let's have a look at the important things. First of all, it's 8:46 on the morning of the 28th of April, 2022. I'm reporting or broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes. And I hope that perhaps we're getting a little better picture this morning. We're trying hard to resolve the issue, I can assure you. But broadly speaking, is the headlines are, first of all, an MP has been watching naughty pictures while sitting in the House of Commons on his phone. Oh, dear. But Liz Truss and the Times brings us right back to reality, and that is we are, to all intents and purposes, at war. You can paint it whichever way you like, but we're at war. And we're at war with the man who is determined to win. He's single-minded. And he thinks that we'll give in before he does. And there's probably, he's lost a dozen generals already. He's lost all sorts of troops and hardware. But what he said is that you point the gun at me and I will point the gun at you. And we hopefully he won't point the gun. But I think that we must not take lightly the fact that he has publicly said, you interfere in this war and you do it at your cost. I am going to go bang, bang at you. We live in perilous times. The Financial Times. The gas price soars as Russia turns off the taps to Poland and Bulgaria. Now, this was threatened in the last couple of days. And a very good morning, to Mr. Andrew. How are you?
All right.
That's great.
I thought I was. I woke up, so I thought I'll just come in early, face to face.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, come on in. And Andrew Sloan is here in person, right? Now that's fantastic. Here we go, Andrew. Get in a bit because we still haven't got all our technicals. Oh my goodness me!
I'll move your iPad. Just
right. We're in this little corner this morning simply because we're having some problems with the signal. It's not the greatest picture, but nonetheless, we're motoring on. And the fact that you're here is terrific. Now, Andrew Sloan, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Andrew Sloan is the owner of Grizzly's hairdresser.
Barbershop.
Barbershop. Wash my mouth out. It's a barber shop. But he does have a friend around the corner with a hairdresser, a ladies' hairdresser.
Oh, yeah. Across the road.
Yeah. I wasn't totally wrong.
No.
But he's also the most remarkable barber shop that I've ever come across. First of all, in fact, I was told about him by when I was writing for the magazine Town and County, who did a little article on him, and they said, now this is a man that you should go and meet, because the first thing that it happens is they offer you a whiskey first thing in the morning. I thought, my goodness me, I'm going to have to go and take a look at this. So around the corner I went, and I met Andrew for the first time. I had a wonderful haircut, but I was treated with such civility and with such remarkable aplomb and flair that I've been going there ever since, and we become fast friends. But not only that, he's also become a standard star of Mirador television. And I'm delighted to see him here, because normally we do it at a distance in the morning. But here he is in the White Hart, where we are live. Welcome, Andrew.
Hello, you all right?
Yes, indeed, I am, and all the better for seeing you. Now, I am just waxing lyrical because Putin has said, you shoot at me, I'll shoot at you. What's your take on that?
It's funny, isn't it, how it was all supposed to be, everybody was supposed to be frightened of Russia, and there was this big enemy, and they just made them out to seem, to be idiots, really, aren't they? It's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? You not think?
Well, they haven't exactly covered themselves with glory on the battlefield, have they?
No, they just keep. Yeah, I'm not sure. We've got I said this before, actually. We've got a Russian client who came in the week before, and he was saying to us that his parents are Russians and colleagues are in Ukraine and things, and it's been going on since 2014, and it's not going to escalate and all this stuff. Of course, I haven't seen him since, so he came in the other day. So it's really interesting. He was talking about the Russian refugees. He said there's two types of refugees. There's obviously the Ukrainians and all that's happening. That's terrible. He said, but there's people he knows, friends in Russia, who obviously don't agree with Putin, who work for all these companies. They've all been shut down. So they've lost their jobs. So they've suddenly having to move out of their homes, when their kids go to clubs. Same as over here, imagine. So they suddenly have to find other homes elsewhere in a safe place as well. So I thought, God, that's not even spoken about, is it, really? How it's affecting... Like, say, if it was the other way around, it was here, we would be out, wouldn't we? We'd be like, I'm not staying around. We'd lose our jobs and all this. So, that's not really talked about, really. So, that'd be quite interesting to sort of go into that, really. Who are these Russian refugees,
Indeed, as we tend to think. And the other thing that has happened is, of course, the people coming across the channel with nothing to do with the conflict in Ukraine. We've almost totally forgotten about them. And yet, just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, it was a really big worry that thousands of them were piling in.
Yeah, I heard something on a report that it was £7 million a day is the hotel bill for our refugees and stuff, what we're doing, not just obviously Ukraine. My cousin was in the RAF, and he's been in Ukraine as we speak. He got back on Monday, and they've been taking over supplies and helping stuff out and bringing some people back via Southampton and stuff. Like, you know, he said it's absolutely all the coaches going past. He said it's horrific, you know. And then someone else was saying yes, one of the clients, I think they're from France or something, saying how much, you know, that's people are sort of refugees are happening there and getting new lives. So yeah, bonkers.
Now, I am a bit naughty because I accuse us of being what I call fat and sassy. We were leading a pretty damn good life up until 2019. We were stuffing our faces with food and drink. We could fly anywhere in the world. We got sunshine and so on. And all that came to a grinding halt because of COVID. But we got used to that, and that's what we want back. And that some decisions are made by our leaders on the basis that if we don't give them what they want, they'll vote for the opposition. And it's interesting that some figures this morning from London are giving Starmer a 60-point lead over the Conservatives. I mean, that's a huge, huge lead. So we very much, it looks as if the pundits are right, that when we've got our lollipops taken away, is we take it out on our leaders. But the Russia having cut off Poland and Bulgaria means that it becomes even more expensive for us to get our own gas here.
Yeah, apparently we're what's it? Russian gets, is it 1 million a day? I think a Russian client was saying to me or something that we're still buying gas and things from them. I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit. I don't know where's it going to go, all the heating and stuff like this.
Now, how is that impacting on your business?
Well, the costs.
Yeah.
Well, it's more at home really, because it's in work we can turn the heating off really, in a sense, once the shop gets warm in the morning. But obviously when you're at home and stuff and it's at night time, I did put the heating on last night actually, which was a real god, because we're saving money left, right, and centre, but to pay for the bills, because mine, like I said before, has gone up from 60 to 178 a month. So it's great at home, and that's with meter readings, So, but it was it was quite cold last night, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And I just thought, right, okay, this is like we haven't had it on for a couple of weeks, and I just thought I just put it on. Yeah, it's a real worry, really. I don't know what the bigger plan is, really.
Well, The Guardian, which can tend to be a bit hysterical from time to time, it says that fear of energy price crisis as Russia cuts gas supply. Now, we do have alternatives, and of course we've gone cap in hand to the very people that we've criticised, the Saudis, and said, please, can you turn your taps up? Normally we're asking them to turn them down a bit, I've lost track of what the Saudis are doing, but of course the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, which meets in Vienna. They always did whatever the Saudis said. I haven't seen anything from OPEC, and I haven't seen anything from the Saudis. Strangely enough, I have trained a large number of people from Saudi, and I find as a people that they're quite charming and pleasant. And however, I suppose that it sticks in the craw that the king actually routinely lops people's heads off when he displeases them.
Yeah, they throw me off the building probably. Yeah, this is the problem. This, like in Iran, as well. I've got some old friends from showbiz, who are from Iran and stuff, and I've worked with people. And like, do you know Omar Dajili? He's a half Iranian comic stand-up. Great, I love him. And he was talking about this. He was trying to do something on a Iranian TV. He wants to do it actually in old Persian language, and but they're sort of censoring him really because certain jokes he can't do. But they still execute people for being gay on a daily basis.
Yes.
There's certain things they won't talk about. It's it's all a bit mad, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Rights-wise.
But war and crisis make strange bedfellows, and it looks as if one of our bedfellows are the Saudis. But I've also lost track of what's happening there. And if in fact the Guardian is right that the Russian action is going to create a real crisis, then people such as yourself would have to say, I don't care. I need energy to run my business. Although, as you say, yeah, you need it more at home than you do in the shop. But all we've got to do is have a cold spell, and you've soon got to put the heat on.
Yeah. Well, the end of the year, isn't it? You know, this is the thing, isn't it? And this is the other thing. There's the warm discount for for pension age or benefits and things like this. But what about sort of other people as well who are, it's affecting normal people now. It's not just necessarily people on benefits and stuff, because like I've said previously, we're having to open later now and open on an extra day just to pay for the normal costs, because I'm not putting my prices up. A lot of other businesses put their prices up, but I'm not going to do that because we're all affected. So I'm trying to find other ways to make the costs really without putting up my costs to the customer, passing it on,
Well, what you could do is you could lower the amount of whiskey that you put into the glass.
But this is things somebody did say, you could start charging for your coffees and things, this sort of stuff. Or you go, that's nothing really in reality, the big scheme of things, I don't want to change what we do.
No, and actually, one of the things about a budget, particularly for smaller businesses and or the home, is you don't notice the little things. Now, I couldn't understand why I was going over by about 10 or 15 pounds every month. And it's because I subscribe to a number of Apple apps. £2.50 here, £3 there. And it all adds up, and suddenly you've got, well, not a major item, but you're not accounting for that.
I do like a list thing, so it's all our household bills, but it's got all that on it: pet insurance, life insurance, Apple TV app, Netflix. So it all basically then it adds up to the grand total of £1,200 a month. So so I do that. Everything that goes out, I make a note of, because it's right. You don't notice it.
No, you don't. You don't.
Bottle of wine a day, £5 a day. Before you know it, Exactly. That's what I used to do.
A glass of Jack Daniels. Right. Let's just take a little break and see what we've got here. Let's, because it's all coming up, let's look and be reminded about. And of course, what we have is we have the Jubilee. And now the royal family have not exactly covered themselves with glory. And I know that actually you're a bit iffy about the royal family, aren't you?
I'm too. I love the idea of history and tradition and all that. I saw The Crown. I've got friends who are in The Crown. I loved it. But with the behaviours, I don't know. Is it with the Meghan? I met some friends with coffee the other day, and I sort of sort of dissed the whole Meghan and Harry thing. Really, like I thought doing that interview was just shocking, and I think that's not cool. So, but they sort of because didn't Harry go to the palace or something to see the Queen?
He dropped by.
Yeah, he's going to go on the balcony or something, isn't he? But I thought he didn't want anything to do with any of it. That was the other thing. I'm a bit like, oh, okay, you're either in or you're out, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, but also the part of me is the cost, and obviously, there's we always say people using food banks, the bills thing, distribution of money in the country. I think we really need to look at. So yes, I have an issue with that. I have an issue with that because surely we could. I mean, I've never seen the accounts for the royal family, but surely we could pipe down a little bit, couldn't we, with some of it, with staff or things and stuff like that. I don't know. It doesn't work like that, though, does it? Like money in, money out. Like I would do a petty cash return. What comes in and what I spend the money on.
That's right.
In the country, I'd like to see the petty cash, like I would say, the petty cash return. What the MPs get, what the expenses are, public spending, all that type of stuff.
Well, I'm much more outraged at the expenditure and the privileges and the supplements that MPs get, because I mean, at least the Queen pays for some of this stuff out of her own purse, but also what we do very well, we do pomp and circumstance extremely well in this country.
And I like that,
and that brings in a lot of tourists. Yeah,
all that like. When I used to work in London, and I used to be on a little bike from Victoria up to the West End, and I used to cycle past the Queen's house, and I used to think, God, like as a young boy, you see the House of Parliament, you see all these London icons, like you do when you go abroad, and it does make you go, oh, it is amazing because it's all part of history and all this stuff, isn't it? Absolutely. So there's that part of it I love.
Well, I was very pleased to just about a month ago now. To be invited to go to Cambridge and deliver a course on protocol, for which I have some knowledge. I'm not a total expert, but I have enough to be able to give a basic course to young people. Incidentally, one, interestingly enough, was a Ukraine national. But it's the little things that are surprising. For instance, when an ambassador presents his credentials he doesn't present them to the Queen, he presents them to the Court of St. James, which is the Queen, but nonetheless, it's the Court of St. James. And she will send, if they wish, a landau, a carriage, to take them from their embassy or wherever they happen to be. And then it goes down the Mall, and they get to wave to the people, and they go into Buckingham Palace, and they present their credentials, and then she has a word, and so on and so forth, and out they come. But one of the things that I love these little things is that when the landau turns up at the embassy or whatever, the protocol experts from the palace say to the embassy staff, now look, when these horses arrive, they're pulling this landau, is they expect carrots. Okay. So they have to come out with a bunch of carrots on a plate and feed them to the horses.
I thought you give sugar to.
Oh, not these horses, no, carrots. They're on a diet. Yeah. Right, and Andrew, I always love your comment. Well, let's finish the newspapers and then let's get your comment, because you talk to so many people in a day. And you get a feel that many of us would love to say, by golly, I wish that we had got access to that sort of social response to things. But let's just finish these. The Daily Telegraph, energy firms face threat of windfall tax. Now, I think you probably would approve of this, and that is that many of the energy firms have made obscene profits. And the government has said, either you reinvest this money or we're going to take it off you in a windfall tax. Now, with windfall taxes, whether they actually pay it directly back to voters or old age pensioners or whatever, or whether it just goes into the general pot, I have no idea, because we've got a huge bill as a result of COVID, of course. But the energy companies, if they don't actually do it themselves, are going to be told, we'll take it off you.
But they've got the profits, haven't they? And obviously everybody was forced to stay at home. So people at home are using more electricity, more energy, so they got more profits, because if people are in work, obviously they weren't putting the heating on at home, they weren't cooking at home, everyone's doing Joe Wicks, all that stuff. So the energy during COVID, the energy companies would have got more profit, wouldn't they? Because people were using more. Well, so how can you? It sounds a bit lefty, but how can you say you've got all these profits and all the shareholders? However, it's all us normal people that have then got to pay for that.
Yes.
Surely you shouldn't have profits. Why are you raising? Why are we paying more to give the profits? Surely you have zero profit. No.
Yeah, well, I think that the
business,
idea of a windfall tax is not a bad one at all.
100%.
It
like all these things, just do it fair, because it just seems. I just think we're all being mugged off, aren't we? We're all being mugged off.
I mean, in many ways, I really. I mean, one of the headlines is that I have been complaining that the House of Commons have been concentrating on Get Boris all over an iced cake at Christmas, right? Which he had. But now it turns out that Keir Starmer was having a pint with some of his workers doing exactly the same thing.
But isn't it the point? So it's not. So when it goes down in history, it would be like, oh, all this over a cake or a 10-minute thing. And it's not, is it? It's the constant disregard, the fact that, we all locked down, we did these things, and that was all still carrying on. That's the bigger point, isn't it? The fact that, and now they're not issuing the fines, are they, till after the by-elections? So you think there's a lot of people who are working there who were carrying on. Like we said, there's a couple of options, isn't there? They're either complete saying to us, get lost, one more for you, one more for us, or they were under different information than what we are under, or what, I don't know. But I don't understand why that's not becoming the core argument, is that, when it all happened, we weren't doing things. I wasn't going, I was talking through my dad through a window, but that was ages away.
Yeah.
I didn't go and see my mum, obviously, all that stuff, isn't it? We didn't see vulnerable people, walk the dog, wary of stuff, walking down the trolley, social distancing, going the right way in supermarkets, all that stuff, weren't we? And that was all carrying on. So we all did our thing. So it's the disregard. That's the main argument, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, I take a very different view to you, although your view is the popular view, if I may say so, and I understand support it. My argument is, why the hell are we arguing about an iced cake? Whether it's a pint of beer and so on and so forth, when the enemy is at the gates.
That's because the focus of the attention on the news is on that. A pint, Keir had a pint, Boris had a bit of cake. That's not the thing. So that it's so if all the media, social media, whatever, concentrate on that bit of the birthday cake rather than hang on a minute, this is what we were doing. This is the bigger thing, what we should be concentrating on. That's why it's so bad. But the reason it's still not being dropped is because we all know in the back of our mind it's not right. Justice hasn't been served, so it's still going to niggle us. But there's been so many of these niggles for years. How long have the Tories been in power? 12 years. There's been so many of these niggles, and they're getting away with it. Even right or left, left. Yes. Jeff Norcott, stand up. He's completely anti all this and thinks this should be changing, and he's not a Tory. So when the Tories are even saying, on interviews and podcasts and going, this is why we're so let down. This is why this is the shocking thing. I just don't understand it. You know what I mean? I just think this is.
Well, now you're talking my language, because I believe that our whole system it needs reform.
100%.
Yeah, say reform to a politician or to a fat cat in industry.
This is a problem.
Tut. Yes.
Yeah, the CEOs. That's who's running the country. Really, it's not the bloody government. It's not all that bunch of Eton lot. It's not that lot. It's all the banks, all the shareholders. That's who's running it. And as soon as everyone realizes this, but it's the thing, isn't it? Like my Russian client was saying the other day, like, unless, because all, like you were saying, all the correct information is getting out there, it's not. So it's what's chosen to be put out there. So people like my mum, say here, who's not on the internet, doesn't have a smartphone, just watches BBC News or whatever, or Loose Women or whatever, something grim. So that's the only information they get. So when I speak to my mum at 6 o'clock, you know, she said, "Oh, this is terrible. This is happening. That's happening." And I have to go, "It's not, Mum. This is happening as well. That's happening." Da, 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 da. So it depends what the information is put out there.
Yeah.
But in the great words of Morrissey, you know, people need to stop watching the news. It's shocking. There needs to, you know, but and the other point of it, from all my clients, we're all over it. We're just so sick of everything. We're sick of the negativity. We're sick of this constant hamster wheel of this, then this, then this, then this. It's almost like on a Netflix thing, play next episode. You know, the end of something happens, and then a little bit of information about the next thing comes along. So we're literally going from horrible thing to horrible thing to horrible thing, and we're all so downtrodden, you know.
Yes.
So what's weird is what I always used to say is I want to be in Scotland, miles from anywhere with a landline. That used to be my thing. I think I said to you last week, all the clients are saying they're just closing down their world. Whereas this week, people are saying, weirdly, they're saying, I just might move to Scotland, just be in the middle of nowhere. So there's clearly people are just, it's too much. So I don't know how we get the control back or the power back. I don't know.
It's a worry
because the majority, and in my experience, people are nice and people are on the same point of view. But then what you hear in the news or see on the news is completely different. It's almost all this, they're trying to get us all to fight with each other. But actually, the reality is everyone's not doing that. People just don't want to worry so much about paying their bills, or they're compromising on certain things now.
It's interesting. I mean, I find talking to you because you give such an intelligent approach, and in many ways, I mean, on an hourly basis, you're doing the research because you're talking to the average person from a wide spectrum of society. What I find is that, for instance, because I live alone, because I'm of a certain age, over 35, and that quite often people that I know who are in similar circumstances get quite lonely. And to me, a lot of what's happening in our society is that all the things that used to bring us together, just for little chats, like Grizzly's barbershop, for instance, are disappearing.
Community, you know, I feel really strongly about this. This sounds really out there now, but you know, if you think people used to, they would sort of, you know, women would gossip in the corner shop. This is really stereotypically now and all this, but you know, those old footages, and they're all queuing up to get the, you know, the 40s and 50s and all that. And then the men would be in the pubs, all smoke everywhere, or people would go to whist drives, or they'd go into a little snug. So, or people socialise more today than in the 70s. People had dinner parties and things like this. So that happened. Whereas now, I just wish people would get away from their bloody phones and pull their head up. It just drives me around a twist. You know, I went to the theatre the other night to see a friend in a show, and and then some friends who organised it last September. You know, so we've been to a few shows. And I was like, yeah, nice. You know, and he always turns up, and it doesn't really connect. So it doesn't like connect like this, you know, so just chats. And it would just be on his phone as a partner of a friend. And I just want to say, you know, and I've said to him before, if they've been around to our house, can you leave your phone at the door? Because you've got to connect. It's people feel great afterwards. And, you know, it doesn't have to be it's not just a certain generation. You know, I feel lonely sometimes, you know, because, you know, it can just be work, you know, and go home and stuff. So there isn't this thing. I really miss this sort of thing, you know. So it's quite nice sometimes, even though like when we're busy. But yesterday, me and Ollie, I think somebody cancelled or something, so we had like an hour. So we sat down, and Ollie went and got a bit of lunch, and it was really cute, you know. And I really love those times when me and Ollie can sit and just chat and stuff, you know, or else we don't get a chance sometimes. So it's that. So what we need to do is try and engage. Like I'm going to do in the shop, like I've spoken before, but after hours. But community things, people need to start doing. But it's like one of my clients, is quite a successful business guy. He's got a book sort of thing. But we said the other day, because he moved down here a couple of years ago, and he was like, "How do you make friends? How do I, as a straight man, make friends who's not into playing football and not into doing all this?
Yeah.
How do I do that?" And he said, "I feel really, you know, bit wanky about how you say to someone.
And the pubs have become. I mean, you can go into any pub in Lewis, and the staff are nice and pleasant and so on and so forth. But people are in little pockets. And at one time, you could walk into a pub, and even on your first night there, you walked out and you'd got at least one friend. But it's not like that anymore.
It's weird. This is interesting. We've got a pub that we go to in Brighton called the Fallen Angel, and it was quite a rough pub for years. It's slightly sort of out of Camptown area, but it's two girls took over, and it's so nice. All the lighting, the way it's done, it's really nice. And after time, you realise there's quite a few of us regulars. And sometimes people are chatting over the bar, and people know and stuff, and people come and give Bella a treat and things. It's really cute. And another barman's opened a club, but it's called the Camptown Club. But it's the same thing. But he's gone back almost to being like a members club because they've just started. So you've got to get a key to membership thing. And he said it's because then I can, if people get funny, I can kick them out and say it's a private members club. Or if people aren't very nice, you can say there's two ways. So, and we've been in there twice, and both times we got talking to some guys about stuff. One was an ex-police officer, so it was brilliant. So we were chatting. And then the time before, there was a guy who works for Moderna. He's a scientist who worked for Moderna. And they've just moved back down here. And in the end, they invited us back to their house. They just brought around the corner. And we had some gin and we chatted. And you think, God, yeah, that doesn't happen, does it? But it was a bit awkward at the beginning because you think, I don't know these people. Yeah. But then we were just getting on so well, the four of us. We're like, let's just do it because people never do this. And he went and put some music on when we got home. We chatted and he sent a lovely message. That was really nice. And we should go out for dinner. So it's that, isn't it? I think it's recognizing an opportunity and going with it. So This is what you want to say to people. Make the effort with people, or say to someone, do you want to go for a quick coffee, or do you want to grab a drink? Or it feels a bit weird not to have your phone or not sit there. But if you just connect with someone and then do that, isn't it?
Well, it is strange because people see me in the street and they don't connect to seeing me on telly. They just know that they know the face. So quite often they'll sort of, and I'll look at them and I think, where on earth do I know them from? And I don't. They know me and they're reacting. But I also have taken to walking along the street, and I don't care. I bump into somebody that I don't know and I say good morning. And it's amazing. It's, first of all, but then people start to say good morning. If we start to talk to one another and to communicate and to start some sort of dialogue, then people will pick it up.
100%.
But we've stopped doing it.
But so this is it. So people need to start doing it. It's that funny thing that when I do, actually, because I'm walking to work and I have Bella with me, and a lot of people do sort of smile. It's always because of Bella, probably, but it's that thing, isn't it? And or if
does it matter what the icebreaker is?
Absolutely. And someone say, oh, thanks, all morning. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, it's when I went down, because I'm from Plymouth in Devon, and when I went down there recently, everybody talks in the shops. And I think I've said this before, but I said the same to my mum. Everyone just chats, goes, all right, Jean, how's your daughter doing? So everyone connects. And I was really aware of that. I thought, my God, that even though Brighton is quite fluffy, actually, I missed that. So, you know what, I can't talk to anyone. So it's that thing, isn't it? People just need to make more of the effort thing, really. It was funny, actually, we had a client in yesterday, a new client who Googled us, bless him, and liked the sound of it, so we came along. But Ollie was doing a client, and we were chatting, and then between the clients, so the four of us were all chatting, and the client said to me, how long have you three been friends then? Or you been working together? And I said, no. I said, we're not. I said, Dylan's like a client and stuff. And he said, I just thought all three of you were friends before. And I said, no. I said, that's not being funny, but if you come in here, this is the thing, you are a friend. So, but he picked up on that straight away. It was funny, so it was nice.
Well, you do. I mean, really, I can't tell you enough. If you want your haircut, Grizzlies is the place to go. I'm not saying that the other barbers in Lewis are poor barbers. On the contrary, I think we've got a pretty high standard. But if you want somewhere different, if you want somewhere to make you feel at home, and if you like a little Jack Daniels in your coffee, which I do, Andrews is the place to go. And he's got a staff there that are in his image. They're always friendly. Right, it's 22 minutes past 9, would you believe? We've been on the go for almost an hour. So let's just finish off the paper, shall we? And the I is 20 warnings missed to stop COVID slaughter in care homes.
Shut up.
No.
Right. No, COVID, you know. It's what about Shanghai? It's frightening, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And it's never going to get to zero COVID, is it?
No.
And apparently, I think it's on average, it's 120 registered deaths that are connected or tested positive in 28 days. So they've gone in. So I talked to John about this, about the hospital stuff. So if you imagine, so throughout the UK, there's 120 deaths that have tested positive for COVID. So haven't gone in with COVID necessarily. So that's quite low, isn't it? Yeah. So it's just this fear stuff going on. This is the thing.
I think this is particularly, though, two people have sued the government for lacking duty of care to their aged relatives who died.
Okay. There's a lot of this. So there's a lot of this whole blame culture and suing culture, isn't there, and stuff like that.
Yes,
people who are connected to do reports on this, but in other areras. But
I mean, that is one of the big changes. I can remember because, as you know, I lived in lived part of my life in Canada, and there, doctors would actually not treat people on the side of the road in an accident because they could be sued. And I thought, oh, that's awful. You know, it wasn't like that in Britain, but it's become like that in Britain.
Well, our first rule in police and fire and isn't it duty of care, isn't it? That's the first thing. It's to preserve life. I think when I was in the police, it's you protect liberty and preserve life. That's your first thing. So yeah, that's mental, isn't it? Like in America, can I get your chip and pin? Do you know what I mean? Before you're bleeding to death.
That's right.
Frightening. But look at all it's also understaffed. Brexit, so many people left with Brexit. So care homes were so understaffed, weren't they?
Yeah.
Shocking. I mean, I could. It's crazy.
I mean, I wanted to get hold of the doctor's surgery the other day, and by the time that I'd finished, I counted it. It was 9 minutes and 20 seconds of passwords and this word and that word and how to get through to the next thing and listening to you call 10 if you want this and 20 if you want that.
I was on the phone to the bank for exactly 1 hour on hold even before I got through to somebody, and then the end of the call said 1 hour 48 because I couldn't do certain things. The guy hadn't been trained in it. 1 hour 48 minutes on one phone, right? So that was my 5th attempt to do it. And when I tried to sort the Inland Revenue, because there was a big mistake about the COVID grant stuff business, that took me every day trying to ring. And eventually, it was an hour and a quarter before I spoke to somebody.
I mean, and the thing is, you default for 24 hours on a payment. Bing.
Someone said about it. It's about the energy companies. Like, I had this with Empower, and a friend had it. They had credits. So they were overpaying, say £6 a month, whatever. They built up £200 worth of credit on the energy. And they tried to get it back, and it took 3.5 months, right? Now they've swapped it and gone, you now have to put your direct debit up. You now need to pay us. And they're on it like this.
Oh, absolutely.
But to give it back, don't get me started. Go on. Next cab off the rank.
Right. The police review over Starmer's lockdown drinks, which we mentioned before. But the Sun. The Sun has tried to stay away from a lot of this controversy. And I rather think, and it's because of its ownership, is Rupert doesn't want to upset the government for some reason. Therefore, yes, he steered away from it. So what he said is an interview with boxer Tyson Fury, in which he vowed to retire.
He's from Morecambe.
Is that right?
Yeah, apparently so.
Well, there we are. So the Sun's headline is all about.
So he's saying Tyson he's going to go if they do something. Like, you know, all those people when Brexit happened, right? We're going to leave. Or the people with Trump and stuff are going to move to Canada. Did they? I don't think no one does do that. Do they? Oh, I'm going to leave Twitter when Elon Musk. Yeah, people don't, do they? It's a load of rubbish.
Yeah. And the Daily Star. I love the Daily Star because 9 times out of 10, it totally ignores anything that's serious. And its headline writers, I'm sure that they actually decided to pay over the top for the headline writers at the Sun. Now, the headlines in the Sun have always been very clever, but now quite often it's the Star that is clever. Well, I mean, up yours the laws is the one.
Well, I can remember some of the shocking things in the 80s. Their headlines are disgusting.
Oh, were they?
Oh my gosh, shocking! Like all around HIV and AIDS and stuff. Absolutely appalling. Scum. Ugh.
Right.
What's this about toilet rolls?
Here we are. It's the toilet roll. Yeah.
It's made in
Wipeout.
the UK.
Wipeout. No, that's quite a clever headline, though. I think
That is quite good.
And here are the facts. As they the paper says that every person in the UK uses 127 toilet rolls each year. And that is accounting 33,000 trees are cut down each day to make those toilet rolls.
But it doesn't say what's replanted.
No,
toilet roll to certain companies, like Ecova and stuff like that. They're X amount does and their stuff. So that's never. So it's like everything.
A very good point.
You're like,
yeah, but the herd instinct is, why is it when we have shortages that it's toilet rolls that go first?
I don't know. Maybe it's the companies. Maybe it's Andrex are putting these headlines out. They're made in the UK, aren't they? So they never run out. They're up the road. It's ridiculous. But why don't I just go in Churchill Square and have if you need a poo? go in the companies. What companies have public toilets that aren't very nice? I wonder what chains.
Oh,
McDonald's.
I mean, actually, listen to Stephen Catlin, the present mayor of Lewis, about the public toilets here. And I mean, really, there were more closed down than opened up. As if you wanted to go and pee and you were a visitor.
This is fascinating because a client of mine, this is riveting, but a client of mine yesterday said the same thing. Because in Brighton, there's one public toilet in the Pavilion Gardens, and we're all men of a certain age, aren't we? And I drink a lot of coffee, so I need a lot of wee. But I'm trying to find some toilet that's open. Ridiculous. But you've got, I didn't notice that until he said this yesterday, and all of a sudden, of course, you notice there's one around the corner from us, isn't there, Market Street. Then there's one down behind the Premier Inn. Is there anywhere else? I can't remember. But so you've got more here, I think, that are open than in Brighton.
Yeah, but a lot of them have closed. The one down heading towards the station.
There's another one there.
The one up on Western Road. It's got some scaffolding on now. I don't know whether somebody's going to do anything about it. But I mean, it is, and quite rightly, I mean, this hotel has gone to a sign up is the toilets are for the use of patrons only. I think it is not right and proper that hotels and restaurants and so on should be asked to provide a public service when the public service people are not providing it themselves.
I don't understand. Is it because I don't think in Lewis, I don't know, but obviously there's a lot of drug use. So the Pavilion Gardens is right next in Brighton. It's right next to a drug rehabilitation drop-in centre and stuff like that. So sometimes those Pavilion Garden toilets, it's frightening, because people are coming in, bless them. But that's the other thing we need to address that, don't we? Why people, God forbid,
Well, I mean, I'm a real downer. A very good friend of mine who was he actually was appointed the ambassador to Kosovo, and because I spent a lot of time in Kosovo, we had a lot in common, but not least of which was his great uncle, his uncle, and I played rugby together on the west coast of Canada. So we have a lot in common. But the one area that we disagree is I'm always having a go at the civil service, and he's defending them, and because he's part of that whole sort of and sees the in workings is he says they're all right, they're doing a good job, when in fact I suspect that they're not. Andrew,
civil service, that's the thing, isn't it? Civil service.
Yeah.
Hello, that should be like, just remember who you are. You're the civil service.
Well, a lot of them want to go back to work. I mean, Boris ordered them to work. Now they're union saying, "Don't you dare order our members back to work."
This is I bring someone of a certain age. There is that thing, isn't there? Like when you want to go, you don't get to do the rules. This is us as a business, an employment thing. These are the terms and conditions. You don't want to work here, that's fine. But if you work here, you need to be in the office, you need to do the thing, you need to meet every day. There is a certain amount of flexibility. But it's when the power shifts the other way, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? If you want a flexible job, go and work for Deliveroo or something then.
Now, we're 2 minutes late on air, so I've given us 2 minutes extra. But believe it or not, it is now 9:32, 32 minutes past 9 o'clock. And we've filled a whole hour. and we could go on for another hour.
Yeah.
And in fact, we are going to go on for another hour. I don't know whether you have to race away. You're very welcome to stay for the next.
I've got to go really in the next 5-10 minutes, really.
Right.
And,
all right. Well, hang on for a minute or two then.
Yeah.
Let's say goodbye from Break an Egg. Toodle pip, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, the signal will get better and better as we identify the problem, and you won't get a fuzzy picture. Hopefully, you don't get a fuzzy picture today, but we can't be sure of that until we check a little later. But I haven't heard from Kevin Kramer, who is our guru when it comes to that. He sent us a little note saying, your picture is awful. But we're grateful that people are watching. They pick up the things that we're lacking, and so we can put them right. Anyway, we will be with you tomorrow. Monday, we always take the holiday off, mainly because television on weekends and on holidays, public holidays, changes in nature. And we are just not big enough to change in nature. And there is no sense in us, as the Jamaicans would say, beating our gums to people who aren't watching. So we'll say toodle pip now. See you tomorrow. And then again on Tuesday when we start a brave new world. Toodle pip.